Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Zahn Academy. Today we have Cory Lambertson from Asiga, and he is the General Manager for the Americas. And today's presentation will be on Asiga Composer 2.0. If you have any questions for Cory, you can email them to us at zahn@henryschein.com, and we'll be happy to pass those along and get you the answers that you need. Thank you, everybody, and here's Cory.
Thanks, Fran. Hi, everybody. My name is Cory Lambertson. I'm the GM of Asiga Americas. And today we're going to be discussing Asiga Composer 2.0. For those that are not using the Asiga brand of products just yet, Composer is our nesting software. And it's been the same for quite some time. And it's received a facelift, I guess is a good way of saying it, for making a better and a better user experience for you all. And so today we're actually going to show and highlight Asiga Composer 2.0. We're going to show how to use it and point out some of the main new features of the software to really increase your productivity. And so just a little bit about Asiga Composer itself. We had some main goals when we were developing it. And so one of the main goals for Composer 2.0 is that we needed to update the look of our software and really bring it to the 21st century. I will show you what our original version of the software looked like. And it's a very powerful tool, but it just needed to be streamlined and updated. And so we've updated our look, which will really improve the ease of access for new users and existing users to be able to go through the workflow start to finish. We also want to reduce the number of clicks to get through the workflow. Can we get to a 5-click workflow? I think when we look at software, we really want to achieve a workflow in 1 click, right? I mean, I think that would be pretty amazing to be able to have a 1-click nesting software for a 3D printer. And maybe that's something of the future. Maybe that's something we'll have in the future. But as of right now, we wanted to reduce the intimidation and the number of steps needed to be able to process a print job from start to finish. We want to make it simple. We want to update the icons and part manipulation. Like I said, make it less intimidating. And then we wanted to make it smarter. And so we wanted to actually implement printer statuses, awarenesses, make the auto nesting smarter, and make the support generation smarter as well. And so I do have a quick video that kind of highlights it. Let's go ahead and give this a look. Excellent. So let's go ahead and just discuss a couple of the new features that we'll see in the software. And we'll see this live here in a moment. One of the new great features about the software, besides it being an updated look, we also have printer statuses that are available. And so on the front of the screen itself, when you're creating a new build, you can view what status your printer is in. And so, for example, if your printer has an error, you'll be able to see if it has an error without actually being in front of the printer. If the printer is ready to print, you'll be able to see that it's in green. And if it is in a busy status, whether it's printing itself or if it's oh, sorry, I got that wrong. If it's printing, you'll see that it's green, or if it's finished, it'll be in green. If it is busy, as in a status, as in, let's say if you're doing a different function on the touchscreen of the printer, it will notify you that it's in a busy status and you may need to attend to it. So we'll take a look at that feature. And then overall, the software has now been split up. And so the software, we have on the left-hand side the actual workflow functions, and then across the top we have our view functions and control functions. And then our support algorithms have been improved, and so they are faster to generate. And we have the lattice features as well, which are very intuitive depending on the structure you want to print. All right, let's take a look at the hands-on demonstration. So let me minimize this. All right. And so from here, the very first thing that you'll need to do if you do not have Composer 2.0 just yet is you will need to go to your account and sign in. And when you sign in, you'll actually have a series of tabs that will say my account, my products, support, material library, and software library. So you'll have these 5 tabs as an end user. If you select on my products, you have the ability to download the latest software. Now, something that never really gets discussed is that if you're upgrading your software, there's usually a complementary firmware as well that will be needed. So make sure that you stay up to date with your firmware on your machine. I'm going to go and select on software. And then from here, I can download the latest version of Composer. And we have different formats. So we have, for example, we have a 64-bit Windows, 64-bit Mac, and Linux version available as well. Let's say if you're not ready to upgrade and want to view the latest version of Composer, you can always have the older version of Composer, but it is best to stay up to date. And so you'll simply select on the download button, and it will start downloading for you. From there, you'll run the executable, and the software will be updated. Now, something that's really cool is that if you had materials or settings that were installed on the previous version of the software, the 1.3.9 or even earlier, those settings will transfer over to your Composer 2.0. And so there's no really merger or manipulation that you would have to do. All right, I already have the software installed, and I have it running as light mode. So before we actually go into it, I do want to show that under options and preferences, you have the ability to have light mode, you have the ability to have dark mode, and you'll need to restart Composer when you prompt this. So I'll wait for it to reload. So we'll have a dark mode. And then for anybody that does not like change, I get it, change is hard. We have the classic mode. And so if I select on classic, it'll bring you back to the original version of what Composer looked like, but with some of the extra features that Composer 2.0 has. Now I'm going to go ahead and jump back to preferences. I'm going to run this in dark mode. I think dark mode looks really good. All right, fantastic. So from here, we have the very same 3 buttons across the screen. So we have our new build function, our open build function, and recent build function. I'm going to select on open build. And now I'm going to go ahead and see my target printer. So I have my 3 printers here. I can see that Scarface, my Pro 4K here at the office is printing. We named it Scarface. It's a long story. We have our Max X, another Pro 4K XL, and then our Showboat printer, which is our Max. This is in our showroom. I'm gonna go ahead and choose our Max, and then I'm gonna choose one of our materials to print with. Like I stated, you will have your other printer or other materials that maybe you've uploaded in the past. They'll still be on the system and accessible from the previous versions that you've uploaded. If for whatever reason you need to upload new materials, we have it under material profile settings. So I can go ahead and select here, and then I can go ahead and import in my materials or browse recent material profiles, view, save a copy, delete, and even go to preferences for those materials. Another cool feature about the new software is that it will automatically identify what tray is in the printer as well. And so, for example, if I was to select on my Pro 4K, right now I have a low force tray in there, it will automatically identify the tray style you have. Now, if you're questioning on which resin tray you have, we do have a smart function here that will allow you to identify which tray you have. It'll take you to a link on our support page, and it'll help you determine which build tray you are using. All right, so let's go back and let's choose our Max printer, and then let's choose our material. So let's go to, for example, let's do our dentate guide. For dentate guide, I recommend printing that material in 100 micron layers, and I'm going to use a universal tray. So from here, I'll select OK. All right, so immediately you'll notice that the look of the Composer software is completely different. On the top bar, we'll have our move part functions and view screen functions. And so we have our move parts, which allow you to move it X, Y, Z. We have our rotate part function, a scale function, a mirroring function, a rotate facet downwards function, which allows you to select a surface and rotate a part so it's parallel to the build plane. We have our create array, rectangular selecting our measuring tools, all of the same settings that we had in our original Composer software. We also have an undo, redo, and then our view functions. And so we can view our build platform from the different viewpoints, just like we could before. But the nice thing is that it's separated in an easy to view format. On the left-hand side, this is completely dedicated to workflow. And so I'm going to go ahead and select on adding parts. And I'm going to find my surgical guides. So let's see if I have any, let's see here, some trays. Let me go to my desktop. All right. Let's go ahead and import in my surgical guide. So I'll select open. And so now I have my surgical guide on the build platform. And then from here, if I just go through the workflow on the top, on the left-hand side from top to bottom, we'll be able to start a print job very efficiently. And so if I wanted to auto place the part, I can. Being that the part is only one, we're okay. If I had more than one part, I would want to select the auto place function just so I know for sure that it's placed within the build envelope. And then from here, I'm going to generate supports. So before, if you use Composer 1, you would have noticed that there was tons of settings all over the screen when you were adding supports. It was pretty intimidating. So we actually removed those from plain view. They are still here. So if you select on Advanced, you can still access them. I'm going to go ahead and hide Advanced. And if I simply said Apply, it will automatically apply the supports for us. I did not need to manipulate the default settings in any way. Let's say if I wanted to do lattice supports, well, I can go ahead and tell it to do supports. And it will automatically apply the lattice supports for us. All right. From here, the final option that we're going to do is we're just simply going to select on print. And so if I select on print now, I'm going to send the job to the printer. And so from here, I have the ability to name the build. So I can call this, for example, surgical guide 1. I can put in a batch number. So for any material that's biocompatible, there's no requirements for like batch tracing or lot tracing, but if you wanted to put a batch or a lot trace in there, I could. And so you could put the lot number 1, 2, 3, 4, A, B, C, D, for example, and now that information will be logged for this print. I'm going to keep fast print mode on and separation detect on, and then I can simply select print and it sends it to the job. And so one of the big differences on this workflow so far is that we were able to eliminate some of the extra steps needed. So if you remember from Composer 2 or Composer 1, you'll actually have to go through the build wizards page by page to be able to transfer the data. Now I can simply go into the build wizard and press print right away, and it will send the print job over. You still have the ability to view slices, which I always recommend. It's important to view slice 1 and then make sure that all the objects are on there. From here, I'm going to go ahead and close out of this, and I'm going to jump back to the build wizard real quick, because what if you did want to manipulate some of those advanced settings? Well, we do have the advanced parameters page, and it's under the next button. So when I select next, this is where I can manipulate my base plate thickness. If I want to change it from shadow to full to bounding box, all parts, supported parts. We also have the ability to change the mesh shape. And so if we wanted to have it none or hexagon, triangle, or square, we have the ability to do that. And let's say you're one of our super users and you wanted to manipulate some of the print settings. This is not something I recommend or something that is really necessary, but you do have the ability to manipulate the advanced settings on the fly, just like you did before, but it's just not as visible as what it was, because a lot of times you won't actually have to manipulate it. All right, let's go ahead and close out of that. Let's show the workflow as if we were nesting a set of models real quick. So let me go ahead and close out. I'm going to open up a new build. I'm going to choose my Pro 4K. I'm going to choose Denta model, and it already recognizes that it's low force. I'm going to change this to 50 micron layers. So rule of thumb for layer thickness is anything that's fixed prosthetics, you'll want to print in 50 micron layers. Anything that's removable prosthetics, 100 micron layers. Orthodontics or even digital dentures, 100 micron layers is sufficient for that. But for models, specifically dental models for fixed prosthetics, I'm going to go ahead and keep at 50 micron layers. I'm going to go ahead and add in my parts. I'm going to throw on the surgical guide model, and then I'm going to jump back. I have that model there, and then let me see here. We'll pull on all of these, and we'll simply select open. And you'll notice that the arrangement algorithm is different in Composer 2.0 than Composer 1. So it actually couldn't see it. If we did a little bit smaller parts, it actually starts in the center and works its way out for the nesting. For Composer 1, it actually starts in the bottom left-hand corner and work its way out. Now I can see that I do have a couple duplicates, so let me delete these 2 duplicate models. Actually, this is a duplicate here. And then we can find space for this. Let's go ahead and rotate. So just to let you know, the movement and screen functions are the same as before. So when you were manipulating your parts, remember to rotate a part, you'll simply left click on it once, and then you can right click and hold, and then you can perform the rotate function. We're just opening up just a little bit of space so we can fit this model on without it crossing over. Now, easy way to tell is if the part is actually falling off the build platform is that it will turn purple or a different color than the golden brown color that we have our models as by default. Now, a couple things that I'm going to notice right away is that I do have a series of hollow models, and some of these hollow models are designed properly. And so they have a little half moon cutout at the bottom of them. And this allows the resin to breathe through the printing process. And then I do have two hollow models that do not, and this will create a volumetric pressure when printing. And so these two hollow models, I will need to place on supports. And so I'm going to go ahead and go over to our support function. And for this, I'm actually going to go to advanced, and I'm going to select on selected. I only need two of the parts to be on supports. And I'm going to want to put the ones that are on supports, the ones that I have selected. So I selected on selected, and I have my two models selected. And I'll simply hit apply. And it'll place these models on supports. From here, I'm going to close out of the support function. Then I want to show you one more tool that sometimes gets forgotten about. Let's say our model came in upside down. Sometimes different CAD softwares will not orient the part so it's flat. And so usually you'll spend some time trying to get it perfectly flat to the build platform, and it may not be perfectly flat. And so, for example, to be able to tell if an object is perfectly flat to the build platform, it usually has like a bright yellow look. And I can see that my model back here, only right here is actually kind of bright yellow. And so that's a sign that my model is not truly flat on the build platform. If I was to try printing this, it would actually result in a failed print. And so a little cool tip is that we have this rotate facet downwards button. If I select on this and then click on the bottom of that model, it will now be perfectly flat. And then if I go to my move part function, I have a translate to platform origin button. And if I tell X and Y to not change, but minimum to be at 0, if I hit apply, it'll automatically bring it down so it's touching the build platform for me. So those are just a couple of cool tips that you may not know existed. From here, we've already added our supports. If we are doing multi-stacks, that multi-stack feature is still here. And so you have the ability to create a multi-stack still. Let's say I set up this job for a model material. Let's say I chose Denta model, but I really wanted to try Denta study, for example. Well, then I can simply change it on the fly and select OK. And I may need to re-nest my parts just a little bit. There we go. So you can simply change it on the fly without closing out your build. And then I can send this to the printer. And so you can see already it's a much more easier workflow to utilize. From here, I'm going to select print. Now the software is smart enough to tell me that I have 15 parts that do not have support structures to them. If I select back real quick, I can still rotate and view my screen. Oh, let me close out of that. I can see that I do have a series of structures that don't have supports, but I can see that all of them have that bright yellow surface color to it, which that means it's directly attached to the build platform. I'm simply going to go ahead and continue through. So I'm going to select print and select continue. And from here, it's going to automatically send the job over to the printer. We'll wait for it to load. And then, of course, we'll always want to view slices. In a moment, once this is done loading, I'll actually show you on the right-hand side, we do have our slice view function for those that still like to manipulate. We added a couple extra features, so we'll show you that. And then we'll show you a couple hidden features like the print time estimator or print cost calculator that we've removed from the screen just to get rid of some of the extra clutter, but I'll show you where to find that. Now, something you'll notice is that this job is taking a little bit longer to slice and send to the printer than the previous job. That is because we have more data on the build platform. The more data we have, the longer it does take to slice. And that does come down to your computing power of your computer or laptop that you're using. And sending the job over from the printer or from the computer to the printer will also be rely upon the network speed that you currently have as well. Just about there. This is where we could have a little bit of music. So if you think of like intraoral scanners, they play a little tune when you're scanning, or I've heard some that do. We could have a little bit of a little jingle as it's uploading. All right, perfect. We're gonna go to view the slices. And so I can see that I have my structures, everything's there. And if I run through the slices, everything looks like it should. It looks good. All right. So let's view on the left-hand side. We do have our slice function here if we want to view slices on the fly. Just activate it. There we go. And so we can view slices below. We can view the absolute slice of the structure. So let's say if you want to view like a cross-sectional area. And then what I will actually use the most is from the bottom point of view up. And so this is what I will use is if I was trying to identify a unsupported overhang or unsupported island. All right. We also have our parts list on the right-hand side. So this is something that used to be on the left-hand side of the build or left-hand side of the screen. We have it hidden, but we still have your parts list, and you can still highlight all, and for example, delete them or manipulate them. The parts list is still visible. It's just that it's hidden on the right-hand side. And then another sought-after feature is the print time estimator. And so let's go to, let's see. All right, so under options, if we go to build time, if we select on this, it's going to give us our build time estimator. So I can see that this print job will approximately take 1 hour 46 minutes. But most importantly, I can add in the cost. And so this material is $175 a kilo. For all of these models, we're looking at about $22 to print. This is something that is no longer on the screen. It used to be a clock that was on the screen, and that has been since removed. Another feature that has changed, or another icon that has changed that you're probably used to going to, is the globe icon. The globe icon is what you would use to view the web interface. We actually have that still, but it looks actually like a web browser. And so I'm going to go and select on the web browser here. It's going to open up my the web interface for the printer, in which I can view the build queue. I can go ahead and view the print job. I can view the settings of the machine, system information, and I can still access and update the firmware from that. And so a common question we get is, how do I get to my web interface now with the change? It is still here under the new icon for web interface. If you want to access your account, you still have access to your account. It's now under a human icon, so you can access your account. You can save a build, you can open a build, and you can always still create a new build. So the ability to have multiple print tabs open is still an opportunity. It's still here. And so, for example, I can have multiple builds open across the screen. All right, let's finish off one little exercise. Let's say we want to do a multi-stack. That's always fun to see. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Generate Multi-Stack. The first thing that you want to do is you want to apply a scaffold plate. So apply a scaffold for you. And then we need to add some cones. And so I like my cones to be at 15 degrees. And I'm simply going to select Add, and I'm going to look at it from a bottom point of view. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and hit the 4 corners, and then I actually need to fill in the rest of this space. And this, like the multi-stack is fantastic for after-hour printing. Let's say if you had quite a few intraoral scans come in and you need to get these models out, we can simply create a new or secondary build platform, okay, like such. And to be able to attach the next layer to this, we will need a secondary build open using the same printer, same material. So I'm going to choose on Scarface. Remember, I changed it to dentist study and 50 micron layers. I'll select OK. And let's add in some parts. We're just going to do some of the same. We'll want to add these on supports. So anytime you do a scaffold or a multi-layer print, the second layer needs to be on supports, and that allows you the ability to actually delete that previous layer. All right. And now under the build wizard, we have the multi-stacking feature, and it will automatically stack the build for you. Pretty cool feature. All right. I'm going to go ahead and close out of this. This actually concludes the tutorial over Composer 2.0. I recommend downloading it, playing with it. You're going to see just the overall workflow is significantly improved for you. We have the light mode, the dark mode, and really this is just the beginning. And so over time, our software is actually going to get more intelligent and smarter. So be on the lookout for next and future releases of the software. Let's go ahead and jump back to our presentation. I do have a couple final slides. It's just a quick video, actually. All right, let's go and watch this final video, and then we'll open up for questions. Once again, go ahead and you'll email the questions to us, and then we'll answer them as they come in.
The Asiga is an integral part of my whole workflow, so I definitely recommend it.
Asiga's renowned for its accuracy. It just delivers exceptional quality.
The consistency and the incredible build quality.
You get multiple materials and multiple products with one printer.
The level of fine detail and the quality is excellent.
It just adds that added bonus to your patient experience.
Asigas are literally just plug and play.
It's fast, it's very, very reliable. It's the best printer that we've ever found.
Excellent. Well, this concludes our presentation. If you ever have any questions from Asiga directly, you can always give us a call at our office here in Ann Arbor, Michigan. The phone number is 877-689-9998. And we look forward to helping out and speaking with you in the future.
Thank you, Cory, and thank you to all of our attendees for joining us here on Zahn Academy. Again, the email address to get some questions over to Cory is zahn@henryschein.com. If you're interested in Asiga Composer 2.0, please contact your Zahn representative as well. And I wish everybody a wonderful day. Again, Cory, thank you so much for your time, and it's always a pleasure working with you and Asiga.
Absolutely. Take care.
Have a great day, everybody.